In 1975, Toei Studios decides to make a werewolf movie. Except, and this is my assumption, that not only did they not want to spend any money on getting a werewolf costume or doing any kind of werewolf makeup, they also couldn't be bothered with just hiring like a husky and saying, like that's a wolf. So instead, they just got Sunny Chiba and said, hey, you know what, just bounce around a little and we'll just tell everyone that you're a werewolf. But just to complement that, we will also add in like this bitching synth and electric guitar background score to make everything seem more exciting. And that's how you get Wolf Guy, Enraged Lycanthrope. I really should watch better movies. Alright, so Wolf Guy is a 1975 film produced by Toei Studios. This is an unofficial sequel to a 1973 movie called Horror of the Wolf, which in turn is based on a manga from 1970 called Wolf Guy. So, Horror of the Wolf is, think Teen Wolf, but a bit more mature and violent. I haven't seen that one. I just found it, so I'll check it out later. And Wolf Guy sort of takes the same character who's named Akira Inugami, and in the 1975 film, he's sort of like all grown up. He's now played by Sunny Chiba, and he's a private detective who has to sort of solve a series of murders that is happening. That makes the movie sound sort of way more better than it actually is. So the best way to explain this movie is that about halfway through, the plot of the film sort of zigs when you think it's going to zag, not in a good way. And then about 2/3 of the way, the scriptwriters just get completely bored with it and they screw zigging or zagging and they just give up altogether. And then they kind of go, okay, I think we've written enough that we can fill up like 85 or 90 minutes, and then the movie ends. So the best way to sort of review this movie is for me to just narrate the plot, because nothing else is going to make sense. Okay, like I can't really tell you the movie is bad, because it is. It sort of falls in the category of it's so bad that it's good. But yeah, it's still bad. Okay, so I'm just going to narrate the plot so you kind of understand how truly bizarre it starts to get. Okay, so we start off with this guy running down like a busy street and like screaming like, oh my God, save me, save me. And the camera work is like, imagine a Kinji Fukasaku Yakuza action scene, except you're shooting it in the middle of what feels like an earthquake. So the camera just does this, So you're like, I'm just like, can't you calm down a bit so I can see what's going on? So he's running around and, screaming his head off, and then he just happens to run into our hero. And then he gets murdered by what seem to be like invisible claws, which is done pretty well. Like gore-wise, the movie is like really high, right? Like, so you have lots of gore, lots of blood, lots of squibs going off. So anyway, so he gets like slashed by what look like, like invisible claws. And that is sort of complemented by this brilliant VFX shot. And so the guy dies, and then the hero is like, I need to figure out who this guy is. And then he just luckily runs into his friend who goes into full exposition mode and tells him everything. So it's not really a detective movie, because about 10 minutes into the movie, you just told everything that has happened. Because so you find out that the guy who died was part of a band called The Mob, or The Mob Guys, I'm forgetting which one. And he says like, oh, 3 of them are already dead. They all died the same way with like these invisible claws. And there's a 4th guy, there's the only one remaining. So we should find the 4th guy. And cut scene, and then they find the 4th guy, like immediately. And how did they find him? No idea. They just found him. Okay, as I said, like the writers are bored. Like they just like we couldn't be bothered with any kind of actual detective work. We just found the guy. So they find the guy, and then he goes into more exposition mode. So he's like, yeah, like there's this young singer called Miki, which is like what the first guy was screaming, like, oh my god, Miki is going to kill me, Miki is going to kill me. So this guy's like, yeah, like there's this young singer called Miki, and like we raped her because our manager told us to rape her. And now she has somehow developed telekinetic abilities, and she can conjure up this invisible tiger which is killing people. Like why not? So it's sort of like Miss 45, except instead of a gun, she has an invisible tiger. Okay, so then the hero's like, okay, I need to find Miki, because these are bad people, and Miki should be saved.
女の爪は虎の爪暗いこの世のジャングルに
And then you find out that that wasn't the entire story. You find out that, oh, Miki was. I'm kind of forgetting who tells him this, because there's like a whole bunch of. I think he meets his friend again. So his friend sort of like tells him again that, Miki was actually in love with this really rich guy's son, and the rich guy didn't like that. So in order to get in order to get them separated, he's decided, like, he contacted the manager of the mob guy's band, and who was also the manager of Miki, and that's how she ended up getting, raped, and then the son married somebody else or whatever. And so the hero is like, yeah, I need to get revenge for Miki. And then the writers got bored. And so the writers said, you know what? Let's switch this up. So all of a sudden, and here's the best part, right? Like now you're like 45 minutes into the movie, and the hero has done nothing wolfy so far. Okay, like if the movie wasn't called Wolf Guy, you would not know he's Wolf Guy. Okay, so now about 45 minutes into it, the writers just decide, you know what, like I'm bored of this. So now suddenly this secret intelligence agency people show up, which is called the Cabinet Intelligence Agency, which shortens to CIA. Right, so they show up, and then they kidnap Miki and the hero, and Sunny Chiba. And they're like, oh, like Miki can conjure up this invisible tiger. So we're going to use that to kill our, political opponents or rivals or, business opponents, whatever.
Miki, tate.
And the hero's a werewolf. I have no idea how they know he's a werewolf, but they know that the hero's a werewolf. So they're going to use him and like experiment on him. So now all of a sudden we are in like, sci-fi territory. And then the only clever thing the movie does, as far as the werewolf stuff is concerned, because they should do something at least, is that his werewolf abilities sort of come and go based on the lunar cycle. So as it gets closer to full moon, his abilities get better, and as it sort of the moon wanes, then his abilities go down. So now it's like very close to full moon, so he's like getting his abilities back. And you get like this one cool scene where he sort of heals himself. Pretty gross looking, but yeah, done pretty well. And then he manages to escape, and you get like one wolf type fight scene, which is like, thank God, like an hour into the movie it's an hour 25 long movie. So an hour into the movie, you at least get like, oh, we're getting like some wolf action. And then the writers get bored again. So now the hero just leaves. And the actual dialogue is like, this is all too violent and humanity is horrible. And I guess Miki is also going to die. I'm like, Miki is also going to die. You're going to rescue Miki. So he just like leaves her, and goes like, screw this. I'm going back home. I don't care about humanity anymore. And then he goes back to his hometown, and he's standing on top of a hill and suddenly gets attacked by random people. And you kind of go like, why are you attacking him? And they just go like,
何をやったか知らんが、お尋ね者らしいな。えらいやっちゃ。
and then this woman shows up and rescues him. And now it's like, there are like 10 minutes left for the movie to end. And the director goes, we should have a sex scene. We've already had 2 of them. And you're like, I don't think we have time for this. Not that I have a problem with sex scenes, but I don't, like, it's just 10 minutes left. It's like, no. We should have another sex scene. So they have a sex scene.
You think we need one more? You think we need one more? All right, we'll get one more.
And then the hero fights those random bad guys, and then the movie ends. And you're just like, what happened? And I'm just like, okay. So like the first 45 minutes is great, or okay, I'm exaggerating. Like the first 45 minutes is fine, like it's solid. There's a murder mystery going on. There is like a little bit of intrigue and, some stuff. And this girl or this young woman has problems, and, the hero's trying to help her. And then it just goes completely off the rail. Acting wise, like Sunny Chiba does fine. He doesn't do a lot of martial arts. Sunny Chiba was mostly known for doing martial arts. In this one, he does a little bit. You get like one action scene where he's like fighting the Yakuza, but the camera work isn't that great. Acting wise, he's fine. The actress playing Miki is just terrible. The score is great. Like as I mentioned, like the score is genuinely, like the music composer is having a lot of fun. Beyond that, it's just like, I have no idea why this movie was made. Like the baffling thing is that at what point, after writing the script, they went to the studio, and the studio went like, fuck yeah, this is great. Like this is exactly the script that we want. Like, go ahead, here's some money, make this movie. Like, or they just had some money left and said like, we have to make 20 movies in a year. We've only made 19 so far. So just make something, like here's some money, go make this movie. And that's what they did, which is probably the only thing that makes sense. They just had to fill a quota, and like they just made this. So would I recommend this? I guess if you're drunk enough or you're high, sure, why not? Or if you're someone who's like, I want to watch something that is like, so bad that it's good territory, this definitely falls into that category. It's not boring, I'll say that. Like the one compliment I can give to the film, there is so much happening and it's so all over the place, you don't have time to be bored. So that's a compliment. As I said, I really should start watching better movies.